Our next presenter is Dr. Kim Solga from the English department. She's also chair of the Theater Studies program here, and she will be giving a talk entitled Politics and the Act of Public Performance. So a big welcome to Kim.
Thank you, Jonas, and a big welcome to all of you guys. We're thrilled to have you here, and it's a really crappy day outside, so perhaps it's not so horrible to be in this room with us today. I also want to say a quick welcome to Sarah and Jonas, who are actually both theater studies students, and they're going to be helping me out with a talk today. I just want to draw your attention to my contact info at the top of this first slide. If you have any questions about anything that I say in the next 25 minutes or so, or if you want to reach out and ask questions about our theater studies program, please do. You can reach me at ksolga@uwo.ca, and I also write a teaching blog at WordPress, and you're welcome to check it out. Okay, Jonas, do I right-click here?
Yeah, or you can
Look at that. I've already screwed up the tech, and we're only 2 minutes in. That's awesome. All right, have any of you seen any good performances lately? I'm not talking about movies, talking about live stuff. Yeah. Shrek live?
Yes, we did.
Musical.
Yes.
Right on. Was that at the Grand downtown? Right on. What did you think of it?
Interesting and awesome.
Interesting and awesome. I love that. What was awesome about it?
Yes. I like that I got to school, but I also liked it was nice music too.
Okay, all right. So musically compelling. Probably some good costumes, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Plus you got out of school. That is an awesome feature of much live performance. Thank you. Anything else? Anything else you've seen lately? Sarah, have you seen anything awesome lately? It wasn't supposed to go that way. Jonas, have you directed anything awesome lately?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just finished last month directing the Arts and Humanities Student Council production. We did Perfect Pie, which is a Canadian play by Judith Thompson, who's a very, very well-known and respected Canadian playwright.
Yeah. It was a gorgeous production. It was downtown at the Arts Project on Dundas. So it's Shrek, musical, big-time, grand theater. Perfect Pie, smaller Canadian play, really moving. I have to say, it was the best production of that play I've ever seen. Okay, so there's a method to my madness. Why ask you this question? How many of you think you might, I want you to, place yourselves in an alternate universe for a minute, might be interested in a career in theater or the performing arts if you felt like you could actually get a good job in that kind of a field? Anybody? Maybe? A couple of maybes? I was always that kid, right? I was that kid. I want to be an actor. I want to be a director. My dad is like, you're never going to get a job. You need to be an engineer. That's what I put down in grade 8 when I was asked, what are you going to be? I was going to be an engineer. Here's the trade secret. We're living in something called a creative economy. Creative people are totally in demand right now. Has anyone here ever heard of a guy called Richard Florida? It's okay if you haven't. I'll show you what he looks like. You're gonna love this. This guy is Richard Florida. Okay, this is not like the sexiest picture of Richard Florida ever, but I figured it would be good for the PowerPoint. So Richard Florida is this guy. He actually teaches at the Monk Center at the University of Toronto. He's a really big-time urban theorist, urban studies guy. He studies cities and the way they work. And he has a theory. His theory is that the most sustainable economies are creative economies, that the most livable cities are creative cities. Now, do you have any idea? Take a guess. And this is all just about guesswork, guys, right? There are no wrong answers here. What do you think Florida might mean by creative, a creative economy, a creative city? Any ideas? Yeah.
One that isn't held by the molds of what most modern economies would be like.
Okay, so thinking outside the box. Cities that think about outside the box, careers that think outside the box. That's a good answer. There was another hand here. Yeah, what do you think?
Innovative.
Innovative. Okay, what might be an example of innovation in a creative city, do you suppose?
Maybe like public parks.
Public parks? That's a terrific example. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. So Florida, you guys are both on the right track. Florida defines creativity as anybody who's making new stuff, who's thinking in new ways, who's innovating projects. And he defines performers as creative. He defines people who design parks as creative. He defines engineers as creative too, as long as they're working in the service of creating a better community for everybody. All right. So here are some more trade secrets about the world of theater and performance as I conceive it and as we conceive it here at Western Theater Studies. Okay? People who understand the way theater and performance contribute to our economy's vibrancy, who understand, for example, that parks are places where human beings have relationships and perform with one another. They are very much in demand right now. They're the kinds of people Richard Florida thinks makes an economy and a city livable and sustainable. Now, lots of people, of course, work in the creative economy, or what's sometimes called creative industries, as art makers, or event organizers, or arts administrators, teachers, writers, of course, also performers. Actors and directors are also included, but they're not necessarily the center of the creative economy. But, and this is important, plenty of people who don't work in the performing arts directly, so who don't think of themselves as working in theater and performance, also use performance skills all the time in their creative economy jobs. And that's a really important detail. You don't need to work in theater, you don't even need to think of yourself as being a theater person to be part of the creative economy and to use performance skills in your everyday life. So, could we think of some examples of careers that maybe require some performance smarts but aren't considered typical theater careers? Yeah.
Anything that involves kissing up to your boss.
Anything that involves kissing up to your boss, yeah. Is anybody a Mad Men fan? Anybody here watch Mad Men? Yeah. Okay, your teacher watches Mad Men. I used to love Mad Men. It's actually a really terrific show. It's a wonderful example of how the modern office is a place of performance. If you're curious, check it out. The last season's going on right now. Interesting outfits, fascinating facial hair. Love it. Love it. Any other careers that might require performance skills? Yeah.
Management.
Sorry? Management, yes, absolutely. So the other side of the coin. Controlling a group of employees takes an awful lot of performative handling. Yeah.
Radio commentary?
Radio commentary, absolutely. Radio and TV, those are directly related in lots of ways. But also, you know what, some of the behind-the-scenes work at those places, too, is very performance-oriented. How about this job? Teaching. Definitely, yes, we are performers. If you think I am not performing, just wait half an hour. Follow me into my office for lunch. I'll be ravenously devouring my lunch. Teaching's really tiring. Yeah.
Would writing, not like writing scripts, like writing like novels or something sort of count? Because
Sure.
like it would help knowing what an action works like would help you describe it on paper.
Absolutely, yes. I teach literature as well as theater, and I also think that literature has lots and lots of elements of performance in it. And you know what? I just came actually from seeing one of my honors creative writing students giving a reading of her honors project, and she was performing to us as she was giving us that material. These are all good examples, guys. Thank you. Now, how about this guy? And here I'm going to ask Jonas to do the tech so I don't mess it up. And when you click on the thing, can you go to, whoops, forward, backwards, there you go. There we go. When it comes up, Jonas, can you take us to 1 minute? Anybody remember this? As Jonas takes us to a minute?
If there is anyone out there who still doubts that America is a place where all things are possible, who still wonders if the dream of our founders is alive in our time, who still questions the power of our democracy, tonight is your answer. It's the answer told by lines that stretched around schools and churches in numbers this nation has never seen. By people who waited 3 hours and 4 hours, many for the first time in their lives, because they believed that this time must be different, that their voices could be that difference. It's the answer spoken by young and old, rich and poor, Democrat and Republican, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, gay, straight, disabled and not disabled. Americans who send a message to the world that we have never been just a collection of individuals or a collection of red states and blue states. We are and always will be the United States of America.
Thank you, Jonas. Thank you. Jonas is going to take us back to our PowerPoint. What do you think? Okay, so first of all, does anybody remember seeing this live? It was 7 years ago. How old were you guys? God, I feel older every year. Does anybody remember seeing this with their parents? Yeah? Or have you seen it in a class or anything since? Barack Obama accepting the presidency after his first election, right? Really important, really momentous moment. So, was he performing? I'm going to ask somebody else because I know you've had a few chances to weigh in. I appreciate it, by the way. Did you have your hand up? Yeah. No? Was he performing? What do you think? Yeah? How can we tell?
He was very passionate and he was very pushing everything forward.
Okay, so he was passionate, absolutely, and he was sort of moving into the space of the people that he was talking to. Great answer. What do you think?
He was involving the audience.
Yeah, he was involving his audience. He was speaking to somebody. He was connecting with those people. Yeah. Yeah.
It sounded rehearsed.
Yes, good. It sounded rehearsed. Did he off the cuff that speech? Oh no, ladies and gentlemen. He had memorized that part of that speech. Part of it was on a teleprompter we couldn't see. And absolutely the people who wrote that speech for him trained him how to say it.
He was most likely trying to contain some emotion because just judging by the event that had just been transpired, like no one really be quite that calm.
Yeah, that's a really good point. He was probably pretty freaking excited. He'd just been elected the first black president of the United States of America. That is an historic, I cannot tell you how historic that event was. He was probably really choked up. He was having to work to project just enough emotion, not too much and not too little. That's something called feeling labor. We know about feeling labor, right, guys? Yeah, there's so much of that in the work of performance, and not just people on stage, right? People like politicians as well. Anybody else? Yeah.
It was really influential, like inspiring.
It was absolutely inspiring. Yeah. So as an audience member, I could really connect. And the people that the camera flashed to, that massive audience, that was quite a theatrical setup, right? They were all connecting with him, even though they were in almost like an auditorium. It was outside, but it was structured like an auditorium. Anybody notice the flags behind him? Yeah? Yeah, yes, absolutely. Those flags say we are patriots. Those flags tell us something about the kind of America that Obama is going to support, right? The America we all love, the republic we all have faith in. He wasn't saying, I'm going to change race relations. He wasn't saying, I'm going to improve health care for every American and some of you are going to hate me for it. He wasn't being particularly controversial. He was being passionate and inspiring and patriotic. So that is the really important stuff from this particular speech. The way in which Obama was performing a vision of America under Barack Obama. All right, give me back the thing here, Jonas. Okay, so hang on. Did we just go backwards?
No, we went forwards.
We went forwards. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So, a few more trade secrets. In order to prepare for a career, even a life in the creative economy, when I say life, we're all living in a creative economy, whether we want to or not. We need to be able to understand how performance acts in the public sphere. We need to do exactly the kind of analysis we just did of Obama's speech together. Right? This means the work that performance does to shape our communities and our cities and our nation. The way our public figures, for example, perform to us in order to get us to buy into a certain vision of our world. And that includes our sense of who we are as citizens. Obama was speaking to that wide audience. He's also speaking to individual members, right? He's trying to connect to me as an American, assuming I'm an American, me as an American in the audience. He's trying to help me define who I am. And he's using his performance skills to do that. Even though he's not an actor, well, arguably not an actor, he's the president. Actually, he's the acting president. Can you think now about how a piece of performance maybe has shaped the community where you live? Or even your sense of who you are as a member of that community? Not sure if maybe Shrek did it. But let's think creatively about what performance might mean. Anybody? Think of a way that, yeah.
Teachers, the way that they teach and they can inspire us and influence us.
Fabulous. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Yes. So maybe the performances of some of your teachers have worked to change who you are or how you see yourself. I can tell you, if we had more time, I would tell you in detail about two incredibly influential teachers whose performances changed the way I saw myself and made my standing here in front of you today possible. Great example. Yeah.
Athletes and the way they perform, like if you strive to do your best.
Fantastic example. Absolutely. I was living in the UK. I was living in London, England during the 2012 Olympics. And the way the performances of the athletes as athletes meant, the things they meant to us as citizens of that city was incredible. And the way, importantly, the athletes were framed and shown to us as representatives of our community was really important. There were these extraordinary billboards all over London in late August 2012 that showcased all of the British athletes from the Paralympic team, all of the disabled or differently abled athletes. And the billboards had a title that said, "Meet the Superhumans." And there's some problems with that. Those people are humans too. But there was also something incredibly inspiring about that for me as a citizen of London, England. Feeling like these extraordinary, capable athletes represent a vision of us as a superhuman community. It was really exciting. It gives me even kind of goosebumps just thinking about it. That's what performance does in the public sphere. All right. I just want to show you, where are we at? We got some time, we got plenty of time. I want to show you a little bit about a performance that has inspired me in one of my classes this past year and has us thinking in critical ways about how our community operates. So this is an image from a performance called To Utopia by a devised theater company called Vertical City in Toronto. Devising is a way of making theater where all of the different members of the ensemble contribute physically and also contribute in terms of text to creating a piece of theater from scratch. In other words, they're not working with a script, they're making a script and they're embodying it at the same time that they're making it. So this is a woman called Freeston. She's actually an acrobat as well as a performer, and she's playing the role of a character called Kieran who lives in a dystopic world and her only companion is a computer. And we saw it, it was actually staged in the underground parking lot beneath City Hall in Toronto. And Sarah and Jonas and the rest of our performance studies class saw that at the Nuit Blanche Festival in Toronto. Anybody know what Nuit Blanche is? Anybody ever heard of it? Have you heard of it? Yeah, you're just getting pointed at. Okay, no worries. Nuit Blanche started in Paris a while back. It's an all-night art festival. It goes from dusk until dawn. It's usually the last weekend in September or first weekend in October when dusk happens around 7:30 and dawn happens around 7:30. So the festival goes all night. And Toronto's been doing this for about, I don't know, 10 years now? Almost 10 years now. And the great thing about it is that huge swaths of the city are taken over by art. And lots of that art is made by ordinary people, not famous artists. People who just want to get into the flow of things. So I took my class, which is called Performance Beyond Theaters. It's the class in performance outside the theater, performance in the public sphere. And we took a trip to Nuit Blanche. We left at 5 in the afternoon. We got home at about 5 in the morning. We were very tired when we got home. We learned a lot of interesting things about each other on that sleepy drive home. Our mission for that particular field trip was this, to uncover what the festival was trying to do for the city of Toronto. That was our question. What is this festival trying to do for Toronto? Here's another great shot I wanted to share with you. This is from a performance called Hollow Scenes that we saw that was particularly inspiring to us. Jonas and Sarah and the rest of the class and I actually wrote a review of our experience at Nuit Blanche that's being published in a month's time in a journal called Canadian Theatre Review. Anyway, this performer is actually in a huge tank of water. And the tank is designed in a way so that the water level goes down and comes back up. Over the course of about half an hour that she's in there, goes down, comes up about 3-4 times. And she has to do a simple task. This particular performer is cleaning the windows of the tank, but she has to do it while floating in the water at different points. And so it's actually a real struggle. And we were completely riveted. We stood there for like an hour trying to get a handle on what was going on. And of course we were freezing the entire time. And we were thinking all of the time about all of the performers all the cleaners who were performing these very tasks up in the office buildings around us. That really resonated with us. Okay, so we wanted to understand what these performances were doing for Toronto, reflecting the city in this interesting way, but we were also interested in what it might mean that the festival is actually called Scotiabank Nuit Blanche. Not Toronto Nuit Blanche or just Nuit Blanche, but Scotiabank Nuit Blanche. Now, what do you think that might mean? And here I'm going to ask Sarah and Jonas to also jump in, and Sarah in particular. Yeah, what do you think it might
They either sponsor or they own the event?
Yeah, absolutely. They sponsor the event. They are the major sponsor. It's absolutely correct. What else do you suppose it might mean? That all of the print material about Nuit Blanche says Scotiabank. Any idea? What that could mean, or what kind of an impact that might have on us if we're going to see it? All right, I'm going to call on Sarah here. I'm going to ask her to talk a little bit about that. And in order to help, you throw up the next slide. We made some fascinating discoveries when we went to Nuit Blanche and thought about this question, the role of the Scotiabank in Nuit Blanche.
Hi, okay, so my name is Sarah. I'm in second year at Western, and I went on the trip to Nuit Blanche back in October. So what I found really interesting was the fact of how political Nuit Blanche was as a festival in general. I thought that we were going to go see some really artistic work that I wouldn't even be able to comprehend because it would just be like up here and I'd be like, oh my gosh, what does this even mean? But I began to realize that just like anyone else, I can analyze this and critique this as much as I want. And I started the night thinking this is going to be super artistic and it's going to be so awesome. I'm just going to be in an atmosphere that's so artistic and inspiring that I'm just not going to know where to begin. But what I didn't realize was how the economic value and how commercialized Nuit Blanche has become. With later research, we realized that's kind of the same way as it's been going with Paris too, where art is kind of taking a backseat and the main aspect of trying to drive the economy of the city. And you can see this as positives and negatives, obviously, but what really appalled me was how other stores actually just jumped on the chance of knowing that there was going to be a field of people consistently going by their storefronts. So what we saw was at the front of Lululemon at downtown. I'm sure, how many of you have shopped at Lululemon before? Let's be real.
Yeah, let's be real. I have.
Yeah. So Lululemon is quite popular, and they know this, and they know that a target audience is going to come, so they're going to jump on that chance of being able to show off their products and in trying to create some sort of art that expresses could be perceived as art, but really is just a chance for them to show off their products. So when we went by, there was actually kind of like an installation against the H&M storefront, which is a different story, showing that H&M was actually, again, like Scotiabank, trying to help out, kind of putting money towards Nuit Blanche. But then when you turned around, you saw Lululemon, which had no recognition at all in the program of actually having a performance at their store. They just jumped on this chance of having this huge, like, egg sort of thing of this woman.
It's a big bubble.
Yeah, a big bubble thing of this woman meditating. And the whole point was she was going to meditate for the entire night. So like Kim said, it was like a whole cycle and like, whoa, that's a lot. First of all, like meditation, a lot of focus, and also you think about the ethics of that too, of one person doing that. What is interesting though is although yes, this is what Lululemon products are for, essentially this woman is sitting there and showing off a Lululemon product. She is a live model, so think
She's
about
next to
that.
an open door. Right?
Exactly,
People
and
streaming in, buying stuff.
yeah, Lululemon remained open for the night, so that says something too about what they were trying to do. They wanted consumers and knew that people, if it got cold, which it did, people might want to come by and be like, oh, Lululemon's open, I'll buy a sweater. So that helps their commercial value. As well, they said that this woman would remain meditating for the entire night, but when we came back later, she had rotated and it was someone else. So that destroys the authenticity of the performance by making it seem as if it's something that is very artistic and we can express value in it. However, we noticed that she did switch out with someone else, and that kind of questions why Lululemon would do what they would do, knowing that this group, this audience, might be very well driven in the artistic values and what they would see in this. It was a very interesting critique on the entire experience. Yeah?
Just a question, did most of the other businesses remain closed?
A lot of them did.
There was a mix.
A lot of coffee shops stayed open, obviously.
Yeah.
So
They made a load of money, which is a wonderful thing. Lots of them were quite small. But with Lululemon, they were one of the few stores that tried to create the impression that they were part of the official Nuit Blanche program, but actually this was advertising.
And you
It
can
wasn't
see
art.
on the actual like egg thing, there's actually a Lululemon logo.
Yeah.
So it's just like sneaking in
Absolutely.
advertisement when, in a way, when I came to Nuit Blanche, I thought it was going to be like a humble setting of everyone just coming together for art. But again, there's sort of a commercial value that has become a part of it. So
Yeah. Thank you so much,
that's just
Sarah.
my experience.
Yeah, a really big part of what we talked about and what we worked on when we got back to the classroom was trying to find the line between art and economics. Art for art's sake and art for commercial gain. And we asked that question, is this art? And how do we decide? That kind of stuff, those kinds of questions are the things that we explore when we're thinking about the way performance works in a creative economy today. All right, just a really quick plug here, theater studies at Western. So we make it our business to think about how theater and performance do work in public. That means on campus, that means in London here, it means in Southern Ontario, it means even beyond that. A lot of my training is in these very kinds of questions, and I find them fascinating, but also really rich and provocative, considering that we all live in this creative economy that Richard Florida has envisioned. So what do? We read plays from all over the world. We put them on stage. We travel to see theater. We have a great course called Destination Theater that takes a group of senior students abroad. We're really excited about where we're going to be going in the next few years. And we also read theater history and theory. I threw this in for fun. There's Emma, Rachel, and Sarah in my performance theory class reading some theater theory. But we also ask these kinds of bigger questions. And I'm going to stop now, and I'm going to invite you to ask some questions, not just of me, but also of Jonas and Sarah. And Jonas, if you want to reflect on any of the kinds of things that you've taken away from our discussions, you're more than welcome to. Are there any questions to start about what we do? It's okay if there aren't. Not trouble. Jonas, do you want to close us off with a reflection?
We've got a couple minutes left.
Jonas, by the way, guys, is a biology student who's done a theater. Have you done a theater studies minor?
Yeah.
Yeah. So think about why a bio student might want to do a theater minor. It's kind of exciting. More and more of our students are doing business in theater, science in theater, sociology in theater. It's really exciting.
So the theater studies department, or I guess it's not.
It's not a department, it's a program within English and writing studies.
The theater studies program is very new. This is its inaugural year. So when I found out that it was coming into being, I jumped on the opportunity. I took all the courses on offer. And two of my favorite courses that I've taken this year in theater studies were that Performance Beyond Theaters course, as well as the History of Performance Theory course that we're doing this semester, both with Kim.
I'm very awesome. No, I'm kidding.
What's been really great, especially with Performance Beyond Theaters, is it's totally expanded my view of what performance means. I came into it as I was doing the certificate in theater arts. I was very geared towards theater, but being able to look at performance in everyday life, looking at not just performance in the theater, but performance art and other aspects of performance has been really enlightening. We've covered so many influential theorists in the History of Performance Theory course, as well as in the Performance Beyond Theaters course, and the range of topics and ideas that I've been exposed to in this last year have been really, really cool, really influential. It's definitely inspired me to continue like looking at performance as an area of study. It's just really fascinating getting exposed to these ideas that so pervade like every aspect of our life. The idea that we're always performing our identities in an aspect. Everything we do can be linked towards performance studies. Performance is so interdisciplinary. It touches on anthropology, sociology, biology. It's a really, really cool place to focus your studies, I think. If I were coming to Western like you guys are, well, maybe some of you in a few years, and the major was on offer at that point, I think definitely it would have been something to look into.
I didn't pay Jonas to say those things, by the way. Thank you very much, Mary. I have one more trade secret for you, and then we're going to clap it out, as they say. And that is, Jonas just said, we're performing all the time. Oh, yes, we are, ladies and gentlemen. When you go back to school later, think about how you are performing at each other in the hallways. My secret to you is that you've all been performing this entire time, and I've noticed how you've been doing it. And if I had to go away and write an essay about who was on their phone, who was doing the crossword, who was giggling at me, who was talking amongst themselves, I could do. All of those things were performances. We're never, holy crap, we're never invisible, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, theater studies, I hope you consider it. Thank you so much for your time, guys, and your effort. All right.